Hi everyone, this video is about how I teach my horses liberty. I will be taking you through all the steps that I use to start my horses at liberty. I will also tell you a couple of maneuvers that I like to teach my horses before I start liberty, but I will not be thoroughly showing those in this video. I will make another video about that so that you can teach your horse those. So one of the maneuvers that I like to have on my horses is a 4/4 yield or pivot. It helps with shoulder control for future references in liberty. And I like to make sure that it is very soft and I'm not having to put much pressure on my horse. The next maneuver I like to have is a hindquarter yield, which is really nice at liberty because when I put pressure towards his hips, his head comes towards me, which helps with my liberty circles or if they decide they're not feeling it today and they want to try to walk away. The third maneuver that I like to have is a side pass away from me. Again, it's good for shoulder control. Like in the future, I have a horse with a lot of draw. It'll be easier for me to use their shoulder and push them away from me to create more distance. The fourth thing I like to have is a horse with a soft flex neck. It helps with more bend on my liberty circles and it helps with relaxation. The next thing I like to have is a nice soft head. So I like to be able to have a little bit of pressure from the lead rope and he drops his head down, and I also like to have some pressure from atop the head and he drops his head down. And the final maneuver I like to have is a nice backup from in front and from the side of the horse. The first thing before I start liberty is I like to make sure that my horse is desensitized to the whip, so I rub it all over their bodies and I swing it around, make it noise, that way there's nothing that could possibly scare them in the future. So the first step is I'm going to lift my whip and I'm going to walk forward, and I start with a lead rope and next to a fence, and I'm just going to continue to walk, and then when I'm going to stop, I'm going to drop my whip and place it in front, doing the exact same thing on the opposite side, and I start next to a fence, that way I could give my horse a better understanding of what I'm asking them to do. And I'm also starting on the lead rope for the same reason. Next, I'm going to move up to a trot, doing the same thing, and when you're doing this, make sure to have lots of slack in the lead rope. Don't pull on the lead rope at all, that way you're leading up to when you take the lead rope away completely. Once my horse is good at doing the walk and trot both directions on the lead rope with lots of slack, I'm going to take the lead rope away and I'm going to work on next to the fence still, just walking and trotting with my horse, stopping. That way, once we're good at all these steps, we can move on to our next step. Once your horse can very well walk trot at the shoulder without the lead rope, we're going to move on to the draw. So I'm going to suck back, lift my whip, and back up. The draw is a very important part of liberty. It kind of leads on to everything else at liberty, other than at the shoulder work. Once your horse is comfortable at the walk, we're going to move up to a trot. So we're just going to do the same thing and just trot backwards with the horse and then stop. Once your horse can walk and trot during the draw with lots of slack in the lead rope, take the lead rope away but continue to stay next to the wall. That way they can understand exactly what they're supposed to do a bit better. Once you and your horse have completed step number 2, we're going to move on to step number 3, which is starting to work up to liberty circles. So we're going to go back to liberty at the shoulder work, and we are going to slowly take our horse off the wall. I just like to look at my horse's hip and put a little bit of pressure towards their hips, so that way I can push their hips around me and just kind of make a small liberty circle with lots of slack in the lead rope. Once your horse is good at the walk, we're going to move up to a trot, doing the same thing. Lots of slack in the lead rope, getting ready to go back to the wall, making sure you put pressure towards the hips. Once you and your horse have completed walking and trotting on the lead line, we're going to take the lead line away and we're going to start the walk. This will be the first time your horses come off the wall at liberty completely. If you need to, you can make only half a circle at first to better help your horse and kind of stop at a good note and then go back and try again making a full circle once you feel like you and your horse are both comfortable doing that. Once your horse is good at a walk, we're going to move up to a trot without the lead rope. So doing the same thing, looking at the hips and asking the horse to go around you, and then coming back to the fence and stopping. So the next step that I like to do is I start to work on my draw circles. So I'm just taking my horse from the draw and I'm just going to draw off the wall on the lead rope and make a full circle around, looking at the hip and just kind of pushing the hip around me and then drawing back and stopping. So once my horse is good at a walk, I'm going to move a trot, doing the same thing, just increasing the speed. And I'm slowly going to create my liberty circles off the wall. Once my horse is really good at walking and trotting on the lead line, we're going to take the lead line off and just start a walk. I'm going to draw my horse off the fence, doing a liberty circle, looking at the hips. If you need to make half a circle at first, that is completely normal. I personally like to make half of the circle first, that way I always end on a good note, and then I can go back, do the same thing again with a full circle. Now I'm going to move up to a trot without the lead rope. So I'm just going to start at a trot in my draw, and then I'm just going to draw off the fence. Again, if you need to make half a circle, that is completely fine. And then go back and do the same thing again. When I'm doing my draw liberty circles, I'm kind of just doing the same thing at the shoulder liberty circles. I'm going to continue to look at my horse's hip to bring their head around to me to make a nice liberty circle. So this next exercise, I completely forgot to film this, but I always start on the lead rope. I never start at complete liberty. Okay, so step number 4 is going to be actually doing our liberty circles. So what I like to do is I like to use what I taught on the wall. So I'm going to do my at the shoulder liberty circles, and then I'm going to use my draw liberty circles to end the circle. And I use my at the shoulder liberty circle because it helps push their hips around, which brings their head towards me, which that helps create a nice bend in your horse. But the goal is to slowly be taking away the at the shoulder liberty circle and just doing a draw liberty circle. This is a little weaving exercise that I like to use to try to create more bend in my horse. Boaz really struggles with bend, which some horses do and some horses don't. It just depends. he kind of just avoids it and pushes his shoulder out instead. So what I'm doing here is I am going to be I'm using my smaller whip to push Boaz's shoulder away from me, because some horses are like Boaz. He tends to try to pivot around me rather than doing an actual Liberty Circle. So I'm using my shoulder control to push his shoulder off of me, and that's also helping a bit with his bend because it's pushing his shoulder in, and that helps his neck come around and make a small bend. Now that I've completed all the steps that I had before, I'm going to ask Boaz for a trot. So I'm just going to ask for a trot and do the exact same thing that I was doing before. Going from my shoulder circle to my draw circle. So the horse that I have here is Asher. He's been doing Liberty for about 4 months, maybe a bit longer if I can remember right. And he is a bit more advanced than Boaz. Boaz has only had about 4 sessions, so I thought I would take him out and use him as a bit of our example when it comes to doing more for your Liberty Circles. So here I'm doing my 2-stick Liberty Circle and draw, and usually he's always been kind of one that would stay really close to me and draw in super close. But lately he's been wanting to go out really far. He's still doing his Liberty Circles, but he's making them way too far out, so way too wide. If you have a horse that's like this, you can try to go back and do a bit of that or other things, like go back to the fence and stuff like that. So usually when I come off of doing the shoulder, like the Liberty shoulder circles, I will just start to do my draw circles. So you'll see me kind of just back around my horse and do my draw circles. So here he was doing a really nice circle, so I draw him in, but he stopped way too far out, so I just decided to kind of pull him in a bit closer and for him to come to my shoulder.